There's more information from Novartis saying that they paid Mr. Cohen's firm $100,000 a month for one whole year. Of course, Winnie there was telling us that we don't know where all of this money went. It's big sums of money. We know that there were also payments coming from another firm that could be linked to Russians. How much does the scrutiny of the payments add to the legal troubles of Mr. Cohen right now?
I think on the Russia issue, it adds very significantly to the legal problems of both Mr. Cohen and for the president. This was an account that Michael Cohen, at least as originally reported, set up for the president's benefit to advance funds that the president allegedly later reimbursed in installments for the payment made to Ms. Daniels. Now it turns out it's an account that was used for other purposes, including the receipt of monies from the U.S. affiliate associated with a Russian oligarch. It's interesting that the Russian payments occurred over the same period in 2017, at least as best as we can understand from Mr. Giuliani's account. The Russian payments came over the same period of time that Mr. Trump began the reimbursement from 2017, at some point in 2017 until the end of 2017, to Mr. Cohen. So there's Russian money going in, there's Trump money going into the same account managed by Michael Cohen. And by the way, my reference to Mr. Giuliani is not anything he said about the Russian payments, but what he said about the timing of the payments into that account for the benefit of, or out of that account for the benefit of Ms. Daniels.
The criminal investigation on Mr. Cohen, of course, is separate from the Mr. Mueller special counsel investigation, and yet we know that this started because partly of a referral from the special counsel team. Do we know at this point, or do we have any more insights on where Mr. Mueller's investigation is headed and when it could come to a conclusion?
It could take a while. This is an investigation into a very complex matter, and these investigations can be protracted only because they're thorough, not for any other reason. After all, he's not going to bring charges unless he's confident that he has the evidentiary foundation to bring them. So there's no reason to believe that it'll end tomorrow. I sense from the way it's unfolded up to this point that given the plea agreements and the indictments that we've already seen, this investigation is moving at a rapid pace, but that also doesn't mean that it's going to end anytime soon.
Bob, give us a sense of how this works within the White House. You were White House counsel to President Obama, and you were responsible not just for legal issues, but also ethics issues. How did you police the possibility of somebody on the outside paying to somebody else on the outside, not in the White House, but who was close to the president or people in the White House? How did you police the possibility that at least would there be an appearance of a conflict there?
The White House counsel, every other senior member of an administration, relies for that kind of information, which you might not otherwise get, on a strong ethical culture. And I have to say, it begins at the top. There's an expectation that anybody who's interested in the welfare of the president, who knows that issues like this could be raised, brings the information to the appropriate personnel in the White House, to the chief of staff, to the White House counsel, so that they can head these problems off before they become serious. Who knows what the White House counsel knows? Who knows what the senior staff knew about these payments, about Michael Cohen's involvement in the government of Donald Trump? It's very conceivable that for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which would be the president's disinclination to share that information with his staff, that they in fact knew nothing. And that makes it very difficult to police.
So, Bob, this is obviously early going, a lot of speculation, we have to be careful. But what would be required to make this into a real legal problem, if not for the President of the United States, for people in the administration? Does it require a specific quid pro quo? The fact that somebody's out there saying they're peddling influence doesn't necessarily make it illegal, right?
No, that's correct. I mean, Mr. Cohen seems to have persuaded, and we don't know all the facts, it's very preliminary at the moment, he persuaded these organizations that he had something to offer, and he was selling it, and they were paying him for it. Now, what it is that he said he could offer, whether in fact he delivered what he said he could offer, is something I think later facts will establish one way or the other. And then there's the Russian payment, and I come back to that because I think it's really quite extraordinary. Hundreds of thousands of dollars from a U.S. affiliate associated with a Russian oligarch during the administration flowing into Michael Cohen's account, an account he also used for the benefit of the president. I think this is a connection that is yet another connection to Russia. It brings Michael Cohen, who was previously involved in Russian matters on behalf of the president, negotiating a real estate deal in Moscow for him even during the presidential election, one that didn't come to fruition. So all of this, I think, adds up to a very significant set of questions that, when answered, could spell out significant legal trouble for the administration, for the president in particular.